Welcome back to the Midnight Who Show, and today we're going to be reviewing Tom and Jerry, the movie, which just was released yesterday. Now, I was not expecting much from this film. The trailers didn't really, grab my attention much. It's like, I can probably skip this movie, but I decided I'm going to watch it. I really enjoy Tom and Jerry cartoons. The cat and mouse antics between Tom and Jerry are amazing. And this film has some of that, but it's not the primary focus of the film, and I think that's the biggest problem. This film is very average, but it's not awful. I would still say if you have any interest in this film, just put it on your HBO Max watch list. It'll be there for the next month. I think the best parts of this film are when Tom and Jerry are doing their normal cat and mouse antics. Those are my favorite parts of this entire film. And besides that, the human characters just don't do much for me. They're somewhat developed characters, and they have good, scenes in this movie. They add some parts to it. But it's mostly the side characters. The main character, Kayla, I just don't like this character. It's probably because of what she did at the beginning of the film, but it's not a character I really want to watch a movie about. I want a Tom and Jerry movie, and I don't know, it seemed very off to that. Now what I can say is there's a couple Droopy references in this film that were amazing, especially the one at the beginning. It's very quick, you might miss it, but it's really awesome. Speaking of animation, this movie is animated live action. Now, the animation is pretty good. They blended the 2D characters into this world somewhat well. I think it looks sometimes overly animated, like they don't quite fit in this world sometimes. Just sometimes, though. It's mostly, I've noticed, when they were inside the building where it seemed off. Now, I will say, Jerry was a great part of this movie. He definitely tortured Tom a lot. Had all that classic Tom and Jerry antics that we all expect. But I like how, I really actually enjoyed how much Jerry was just basically just taunting them, like leaving little notes, getting past all of it. It was great. And, when the movie was focusing on that, I really enjoyed it. But with this whole hotel and the wedding subplot, I didn't really. It's a very good premise, though. It has everything to make a good film. Hotel, Jerry moves in, they get Tom to deal with it. It's actually a pretty good premise. I just don't think that it was executed quite well. But it was still a film I enjoyed for the most part. I think if they focused more on Tom and Jerry in some parts and a little less of this subplot and blended it a little bit better, I probably would have enjoyed it. But it is not the worst film I've ever watched. And I still would recommend it. But if you just want Tom and Jerry antics, there's 2 special shorts in the extras, and they are really worth it. They're really well animated, and they were definitely a joy to watch. But yeah, Tom and Jerry 2021. It is definitely a movie that I don't think is awful. And it had some, great scenes between Tom and Jerry. The animation was pretty good, but the human world live action parts just were my least favorite parts, and they kind of lowered how much I enjoyed this movie. They still added some things, but I don't know, it's just something felt like I just wasn't really invested in those parts, if that makes sense. I want Tom and Jerry, I don't know. It's really hard to sum it up, but I think they could have blended it a little bit better. Maybe that. But if you've seen Tom and Jerry, let me know your thoughts on it in the comments below, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Bye, everyone.